watu wangapi wako na height kama mimi? Kama mnataka kunitoa kazi, mtoi kila mtu mwenye ako kwa hiyo idara na ako mfupi kama mimi.
Good evening and welcome to Hold My Mic, the show where we look at this week's political drama and try to make sense of it before it makes nonsense of us. Tonight, we dive into the outrageous, the ridiculous, and the surely someone is joking moments that have decorated our headlines. My name is Willis Raburu. We begin. Drop the beat. This week, CAF honored President William Ruto for, get this, outstanding achievement. And yes, we all agree that CAF events were a huge success. Kenya came together, hotels were full, tourism spiked, and for a moment, the country forgot its problems and just enjoyed football. So let's give the government that. But an award? Surely. Now, I'm not saying don't give him something, just give him something that actually matches the vibe. Now, fun fact, Apple, no, not that Apple. Apple actually launched a new iPhone Sling. It exists. It's real. And it costs $230. That is $34,500. And you're supposed to carry your phone in this thing like a luxury crossbody sock. And honestly, that award is what truly fits the energy. This iPhone Sling, because just like this administration, it looks premium from a distance, it costs a fortune, and the minute you try to put anything meaningful inside, it slips out and it disappears. The thing goes for price of a small M-Pesa loan plus a prayer. And for what? A designer sock with a shoulder strap. It's the perfect metaphor for the government. Expensive, ineffective, but when you blink, whatever is inside has already gone outside, just like the economic promises. If CAF wanted to be brutally honest, they should have handed him this on stage for exemplary mastery in cutting nothing safely while charging the public everything. But what do I know?
Kata keki kata, wonderful. Let's give them a wonderful round of applause. Dissolve!
Now, let's move on. The oldest political party in the country, ODM, celebrated its 20th anniversary at the coast this past weekend, which I don't know how apt that was, because going to the coast means unaenda chini, and you're going down. So is the party also going anyway? This came exactly a month after the burial of long-term party leader Raila Odinga. So as you can imagine, there was just a little bit of confusion in the air. Half the people were celebrating, another half was still mourning. And then there's always that one mad man from the next village who is just thrilled to be invited to the party. But before the chaos went a notch higher, the party had to swear in a new leader. Exit the indefatigable, indomitable, inimitable Agwambo, Baba, Tinga, Jacom, Raila Amolo Odinga. May his political soul rest. Okay, let's hold up. Let's be honest. Baba does not rest. He just relocates his energy. Anyway, enter drum rolls, please. 82-year-old brother, the self-declared youth leader. Dr. Oburu Odinga, ladies and gentlemen, the face of the future of ODM. Jameni, Makofi. This must be the biggest slap on the face of the wahenga who said, amtegemaye nduguye, hufa maskini. ODM clearly had, amtegemaye nduguye, atapata promotion. Hama tuseme promotioni. Jameni kwenye promotioni. Oburu had not even gotten comfortable. He had not even tested if his new seat could endure the full weight of his political experience when trouble began. For starters, his own niece Raila's daughter, Winnie Odinga, seems to think someone is hawking the party in the bedroom. You know, unatembea pale unasikia mali. And that's not all. She's demanding that the party hold an NDC urgently so that delegates can pick someone to steer the conversation with President William Ruto in the broad-based arrangement.
ODM si chama kilichojazaliwa kama siri. Nasikia kuna wengine ambao wanatembea nasi mchana lakini usiku wanajaribu kuuza hii chama. Haiwezekani.
You know how charity begins at home? Yeah, Winnie clearly skipped that memo. Oburu hasn't even warmed his chair yet, and already his family is wondering whether he can juggle dynasty drama, party politics, and unexpected family audits all before breakfast. But not to worry, the experienced youth leader has a plan on how to deal with Winnie.
Ulisikia mtoto yangu Winnie akisema ati Raila alikuwa hapo na sasa tutafute mwingine kusaidia kuendelesha hii broad-based government. Ninamwambia hiyo mtoto yangu tutaongea na yeye kinyumbani. Nitamwambia kinyumbani.
One crisis averted, just like that. Second on Oburu's list of problems was one even more sinister than his niece's vote of no confidence. And no, it was not James Orengo's outburst or Hassan Joho's "Kufa dereva, kufa abiria" threats or Edwin Sifuna's nonchalance or even the fight between Millie Odhiambo Gesa and Robert Alai. No. Oburu's biggest problem during the entire 3-day celebration was whoever baked this goddamn cake. Whew. Granted, the cake was a sight for sore eyes in general. It looked like something you feed soldiers who have already lost the battle. But Oburu also seemed like he just did not like the taste at all. Or was it the one who fed him?
Offensive side eye.
Twice, the president fed him the cake. Twice, he spat it out and tossed it to the ground, thinking nobody was watching. But Big Brother is always watching. Now, I'm not sure if ODM and the ODM party leader does not like the cake in general, or ODM is not used to cake, just mkate nusu. But what's clear is that he did not enjoy this very much. But here's something else, however, that he seemed to relish and which should perhaps be presented to him as an alternative next time. Right, let's take a quick dash over to our Jiranis, where things haven't been all rosy since our favorite Mama Taifa took office. Now, Mama Taifa banned the main opposition parties from the elections. She jailed their leaders. She practically ran by herself and was then declared a winner by a whopping 98% of the votes. Did I mention that she reigned by herself? Okay, maybe that wasn't factual. There were actually 16 other candidates on the ballot, but then, how do I put this? Remember in 2017 when the Supreme Court nullified Kenya's presidential election and then ordered a rerun, but then Raila Odinga boycotted, and so Uhuru Kenyatta ran against people like Oburu Odinga and Ekuru Aukot? Yes, this was exactly like that. Samia Suluhu ran against the Ekuru Aukots and the Oburu Odingas of Tanzania. You know, decent guys, but very immaterial names in the grand scheme of things. And please, those are not my words.
You are insignificant in the political calculations of the country. Ekuru, we could let you run alone in 2027 and you still lose that election.
The Tanzania election went so horribly bad that the youth took to the streets and many of them were shot, killed, and others jailed, including TikTokers. Now, this is an absolute sad and unacceptable state of affairs. We all know whose playbook that is straight out of. Lakini, Mungu, nifundishe kunyamaza. Hey, hey, Mungu, nifundishe kunyamaza. Now, coming on the backdrop of all this chaos, when the dust had settled and Mama Samia had taken office, she had just one more ripe middle finger to the people of Tanzania. She went on and appointed both her daughter and her son-in-law to the cabinet.
Tanzania kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
Naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote.
I mean, you have to admire the efficiency. Why bother trusting other millions of extremely qualified strangers with national affairs when you can just tell your daughter, sweetie, tamani nipatie chumvi pale, and the Ministry of Education budget? Don't we all just love tradition in East Africa? Because in Uganda, the president's son is the head of the military. And in Kenya, the president's son is practically running the transport sector. And now, Tanzania just said, hold my mic. Did you see what I did there? Hold my mic? No? Okay. Tanzania has officially become the country where family meetings double as cabinet sittings. Now, if you miss dinner, you miss government policy. Makofi jameni! Makofi kwa suluhu! Hakuna suluhu jameni! And so, ladies and gentlemen, Idi Amin mama, sorry, I was reading from something else. My apologies, I was thinking about something else there. But, ladies and gentlemen, Mama Samia Suluhu receives this week's Audacity Award. Hii ni ile audacity ya mtu anakuja kukutembelea, ananounce, alafu anakuuliza, huku mnapikanga saa ngapi? Next week, the family dog might get Deputy Minister of Wildlife. Nobody will flinch. Woof, woof. Let's leave the Jirani alone and slide right back into Kenya, where the biggest event this week wasn't a music concert or a football tournament, it was police recruitment. Yes, the national talent show where performers are young men and women, the stage is dusty, the spotlight is merciless, and the judges hold meter sticks instead of scorecards. Take, for example, our friend from Baringo Central, Idris Kiprop. Idris has showed up 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 8 times, hoping to join the uniforms and serve this country and put the badge on his chest. And what stopped him? Each time, height. Not skills, not stamina, not courage, height. This time, however, he wasn't taking no for an answer, at least not quietly.
Watu wangapi ni wafupi kama mimi na wako kazi? Mimi ndo nanyima, kwani mimi ni nani? Watu wangapi ni wafupi kama wako kazi?
He didn't just stop there. Idris also gave the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, an ultimatum to either hire him, even if as his own personal guard, or fire everyone in his height, currently employed in the police service.
Mr. Ruto, watu wangapi ni wafupi kama mimi niko kazi hapa? Mimi nafanya kazi kila siku, nimeomba kazi 8 years, nimeenda NOS. Mulininyima kazi nikaenda NOS. Sasa nimeenda NOS tena mnaninyima kazi nyingine. Kwani mimi ndo sifai kwa kazi?
You know, the Kenyan police recruitment has to be one of the toughest auditions in the country. Forget dealing with Judge Ian Bugwa on Tusker Project Fame or most recently on the roads. Forget the Churchill Show. The Kenya police recruitment is hosted by the Ministry of Utangoja sana moto wangu. You can train for months, run like you're chasing the wind, eat 3 raw eggs for courage, memorize the national anthem, show up excited and full of energy. Then one officer looks at you and says, ungekuwa polisi mzuri, lakini meno yako ni white sana jameni.
Unajua anacheka kwa nini? Hii ni maajabu.
And then, of course, there has always been the issue of bribery. Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has said, and they have taken a peek into this, and they've looked behind the curtain and revealed that the police recruitment system has been more of a test on how to test your patience and generosity rather than how to actually find the best officers. Bribes change hands, political favorites are snuck in, and manual procedures that make you wonder if we are still living in the 1980s are still used to gauge suitability. It's a wonder anyone gets in at all. And you know what? Maybe Idris does have a point, because the height rule in itself is as rigid as your auntie's stare when you say you're still single at 30. Otherwise, explain to me how Idris cannot get into the service after 8 attempts and a successful stint at the NYS paramilitary training camp, and yet, this lady is in uniform. You have a system where police officers are supposed to protect us, but getting in requires bribery, political favor, or legs taller than a giraffe. And then those very officers are up in clashes with the public over traffic licenses or even simple misunderstandings like this. It's almost poetic. You see, when the system is this chaotic and the rules are absurd, tempers flare in the most unexpected ways. 1 minute, you're chasing a dog. The next minute, you're tasting your own medicine, and the crowd is filming it for YouTube. Honestly, it's hard to blame anyone if you spent months trying to get into the police force, only to be told, sorry, your legs are too short. Won't you be a little frustrated when the very people enforcing the rules seem, well, sometimes just as confused as you are? So, ladies and gentlemen, what have we learned tonight? Family dynasties have taken over ministries, leg length can define your career, and police sometimes spend more time chasing dogs than solving crimes. If you came here looking for sanity, you're out of luck. But if you came here looking for entertainment, congratulations. Kenya never disappoints. This has been Hold My Mic with Willis Raburu. See you next week for even more madness. Good evening.
Hold my mic. Yeah, hold my mic. Hold my mic. Hold my mic. Hold my mic. Hold